Okay, welcome back, everybody. What we're going to talk about next is homeowner perils. Now, the difference between the forms, the homeowner forms, is the perils. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my screen here and just spell out some of your homeowner perils that you have. Now, on your homeowner 8 basic form, okay, so on your homeowner 8 basic form, you have fire, you have lightning, and these are perils that you need to memorize. And a good way to remember these extended coverages is WARDs. I always like to think of acronyms because that helps me remember, these particular perils. So you have wind and hail. What if aircraft hits your home or an auto hits your home? You have riot, you have volcano, you have explosion. All right. And then the last one, you have a smoke. Now, you also have vandalism and malicious mischief on an HO8 policy, and you always have theft on all your homeowner policies. So when you're thinking about a basic form, what you want to think about is this is a named peril policy. If the peril is not there, then it is not covered. Okay, so that's a great way to remember that particular way we do the perils. Now, an HO2 policy is a broad policy, and this is a named peril policy also because you have perils that are listed. So you have all of the basic perils that you have above, plus you have the big effect. Again, this is a way that I always remembered it when you have your HO2 policy. Okay, so what are we talking about here? We're talking about burglary. We're talking about ice, snow, sleet. We're talking about glass breakage, right? Accidental discharge. When you think about accidental discharge, think about, for example, a dishwasher or wash machine overflowing. Okay, it has to be sudden. It has to be quick there. It can't be something that's happened over a period of time. You also have freezing, freezing of pipes, for example. Again, sudden, accidental, not over a period of time. One of the tough claims that you can have is when you pass by like a wall and you see a water spot. Okay, and then they peel it back, the drywall, and there's lots of water leaking and there's mold. That is not covered, and that's a tough claim. But freezing of pipes, as long as you don't turn the heat off, is something that can be covered. Okay, you have electrical, also you have collapse and tearing apart. Tearing apart is like a hot water heater that suddenly burst. Okay, so these are your named peril policies here. Then you have HO3. HO3 is a special form. And so they split it out and they say, okay, coverages A and B, which are dwelling and other structures, are now open perils. This means everything's covered that's not excluded. Now, what are some things that we know are excluded? Okay, so we'll write that here as well. Some of the perils that we know excluded here are war, and of course, nuclear, flood is excluded, earthquake is excluded, water backup is excluded, plus sump overflow. Government authority is excluded. Okay, you have power off premises excluded as well, and intentional. Okay, so this is a situation where you have, when it comes to HO3, they split it up and they say, okay, coverage is A and B, which if you remember under Section 1, your coverage A is your dwelling, okay? And your coverage B, right? Your coverage B is your other structures, okay? So you have other structures there, and then your coverage C is your contents or personal property, okay? And then you have coverage D, which is your loss of use. All right, so what they say here is with an HO3, your coverage is dwelling in other structures or open perils. That means everything's covered that's not excluded. All right. So if you have, for example, a raccoon, because a raccoon is a mammal, now animals, domestic animals are excluded. Birds are excluded. Insects are excluded. You have rodents that are excluded, but mammals aren't necessarily excluded, like a raccoon. So if a raccoon runs into your house and damages your floor and your walls, you have open peril coverage, and that could be covered. Okay, now up here in an HO8 and an HO2 policy, you don't have raccoon as a coverage, right? So your coverage is A, B, and C. If it were damaged by a raccoon and you have an HO8 basic or an HO2 broad policy, it's not going to be covered. Whereas here, yeah, coverage A and B could possibly have raccoon coverage. Now, coverage C has broad perils. It goes back over here to your broad perils. So in this particular instance, if that raccoon were to jump on your couch and tear up your couch and your clothes and things like that, that are your contents, it would not be covered because a raccoon is not considered in the broad perils. You see the difference there? Now, another homeowner policy you have, just kind of skipping here, is an HO5. And this is a comprehensive policy. And this is where you have coverage A, dwelling, coverage B, other structures, and coverage C. And all of these are open perils. That means if a raccoon comes into the house, for example, and they damage the walls and the floor and your contents, then that could possibly be covered. Okay, so again, that is where the difference is between your open and those named peril type situations. Now, keep in mind, an HO4 is a renter's type policy. This is where Tom comes into my office and he may want to get a renter's policy, which basically is going to cover his coverage C. He doesn't own the building or other structures. And it's going to go back to broad perils. Again, it goes back to all of these perils here. HO4, HO6. HO6 is a condominium policy. People that own a condo, usually the homeowner association insures the dwelling and other structures. So their main concern, they may have a little bit of coverage on coverage A. You know, some companies do anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000, but their main concern is their contents. And this is also broad perils. Okay, so it includes these perils up here. So it's very, very important that you know these perils, that you can basically close your eyes and be able to list all of those perils or write those on a piece of paper, okay? Because you'll have lots of test questions regarding this, okay? Now, what I wanted to tell you also is this is just a short video. I've got some other videos for you. But if you feel like you need, no matter what state you're in, there is some material to supplement your state material. And if you have a pre-licensing class. So for $97, you can get the most tested information. I give PDF worksheets. I have lots of videos. I have lots of cheat sheets, and it's just $97 and it supplements and it will help you pass the test. So with my over 30 years of experience, you know, teaching thousands of agents how to pass a test, I know I can help you with this program. All right, so hope to see you in another short video.